Hey, Nazu here. Today I want to do part 3 of my What If Deku Had the Magma Fruit. I was supposed to do it, well, a lot earlier, basically at right after my What If Deku, well, basically after the last video I made, but for some reason my recorder basically wasn't working, so I'm going to do it now. Let's hope it's working, because if not, I'm literally talking for nothing. So, in the last part, they ended, I think, right after. Right after they were starting to go to the USJ, and that Deku basically explained to them what he had for powers and weakness. Also, I think Todoroki is the one that's going to get One for All. I think I didn't give it to him yet. So, yeah. Okay. So, Class 1 arrive at the USJ, and they meet 13. After meeting her, they start going inside, and she starts explaining until the electricity stops working. And then they see a black spot in the middle of the USJ. Then it starts growing, they see it's a portal, the villains come out. And then Aizawa does two things. Tells 13 to protect the students, and from knowing that Izuku can literally not be harmed, tells him to come with him. Since the only way to stop them is by fighting, and since he knows nothing can harm Deku if he sees it coming, well, he doesn't need to see it coming, but Aizawa doesn't know that necessarily if he didn't listen to the student talking. So he basically tells 13 to protect the students and for Deku to come with him. They're going to fight. Someone asked Aizawa why Deku should come, and he just said, Deku's probably stronger than me, so he's coming, and basically starts running, which Deku basically just follows. And while they're running, Aizawa tells Deku, do not kill any of them. Which Deku basically laughs and says, if they die, I'm really sorry, but it won't be my fault. I'll do as much as I can to not kill them. And then they start fighting. Basically, while Aizawa was fighting against them, he's basically doing the same thing as in the anime, but Deku saw the Nomu, and he's going straight for him. Which he basically just jumped over every other villains. And Shigaraki thought Deku was going straight for him, and he told the Nomu, kill him. Which the Nomu attacked and lost his arm. The Nomu was basically not feeling any pain, if I remember correctly. He can't feel pain, and started basically just kind of regenerating. Deku saw that, as well as Shigaraki seeing that Deku basically turned to lava when the Nomu hit at him. And so he said to Kurogiri to make a portal behind him, and Kurogiri placed his hand through it and tried to disintegrate Deku. Well, yeah, disintegrate would be a good word actually. And when he does that, basically he just burns his fingers. Because literally Deku can just replace the lava or take that part out of his body. Because the moment he gets touched by something that he doesn't know what it is, his body kind of transforms automatically without him even thinking. So his clothes did start to destroy themselves. Then it just kind of burned over his body. And yeah, Shigaraki basically burned his entire hand because he just kind of pushed it through him. So he lost, well, his right hand is basically completely burned. And his quirk won't work through it now. Simply because it's basically lost completely. Shigaraki basically tells Kurogiri that they're going. Then he asks about the other villains, which they ask also, which he just says leave them here. He said to grab the Nomu, but Izuku basically looked at the Nomu and just kind of completely burned it its in its entirety. Then he looked back, every villain basically was afraid of him. 13 didn't get hurt, the students weren't scattered, and basically they just called the cops and other heroes and they arrested everyone that were there. They asked for the pile of burnt bone and meat, and Aizawa just said that was a monster that they brought with them. So All Might didn't even meet Shigaraki. Then they get told about the weeks, the week out of school and then the week of training. Both of those, Shoto passes them with Izuku basically training his muscle as well as his fire and ice side. While Endeavor doesn't even know, all Endeavor knows is that Shoto is at a friend's house training, but he doesn't know if he's training his fire side, his ice side, or his body, which he is actually doing all three, but he doesn't know. And to be frank, he's just thinking, oh, he just said that so that I'll leave him alone. He's not even training. But in reality, he is saying to Deku that he never trained that hard in his life before. But then Deku says, yeah, but your flames are probably stronger than your father's. No, will probably be stronger than your father's if you continue like that for a while. Which then the first day they come back before they get told about the week of training before the sports festival, Deku decides that it's time to tell All Might. So he goes to All Might and asks him if he could talk with him as well as let's say in class or in another place that's private. They goes there, Shoto's waiting, which Shoto doesn't even know what Izuku wants to talk to him about. Izuku just said, I'm going to go get a teacher. Well, no, I'm going to go get someone for something secret. So when they arrived in, All Might saw Shoto and he looked at Deku and asked him, why is he here? Which Izuku closes the door and says, go sit down. All three of them are basically there sitting, and then Deku says, you were looking for a successor. Which Shoto basically looks at Deku, what? And All Might kind of surprised, and asks him, Yes, but why? And then Deku says, for, for almost the entire year already, all the time that we passed in school, both me and him have been training every night to get his power and his body under control and stronger. Then Shiro says, yeah, it's true that we've been doing that. Then All Might asks him, okay, then why are you telling me this? And Izuku just says it out loud, like nobody else than them will hear it, but just says, you could pass him one for all. Which All Might kind of just reacts weird, like, well, not weird, but surprised, like, wait, what? With Shoto basically looking at Deku and an All Might like, what the hell? Then Deku says that, well, basically says it to both of them at once, looks at Shoto and says, All Might was looking for a successor for his quirk, then looks at Deku and looks at All Might and tells him, and I found one. Then All Might asked Shoto if he told him about this before, which Shoto says no. He told me I could get a lot more powerful, but I I only thought it was training. Then Deku said, yeah, but what did we train mostly? Then Shoto says, to augment the strength of my flame and my body, mostly my body. Then All Might just looks at Deku and asks him, so you've trained him without even telling him? Which Deku kind of smiles a bit and says, well, so that it wasn't weird if he doesn't accept. At least he's already stronger. Which All Might decides to think and asks Shoto, well, to show him his strength, so they're going to a specific city. Well, to one of the cities. Let's say they basically choose one of the classes where another hero was there. Then All Might basically came in and said, well, before the class started, he told Aizawa that Shoto and Deku wanted to show him something, and that he was going to take them for this period. He's sorry if it's an inconvenience. Well, if it's a problem, but they're going in one of the cities. So when they leave and that Aizawa enters the class to tell for the students, they ask where Izuku and Shoto are, and he says, they're with All Might, don't worry. I think they're in trouble. Like, just saying don't worry, but I think they're in trouble. Kind of just places all of them with an uneasy feeling, because, wait, what? So in that city, Nezu basically allowed them to go there, but asked them not to do too much destruction, if it's possible. And then All Might asked Shoto, okay, show me. And then Shoto basically uses fire and ice, well, both his fire and his ice quirk at the same time, and with the same amount of, well, a bit around, if not just a bit stronger than when they did the license exam. Yes, I know it's not that long to get this powerful, but remember one thing. His ice, he trained it a lot. Well, basically used it most of the time and almost never used his flame. Or trained it. But for, I don't remember how long. He trained constantly with Deku pushing him so far that basically he was hurting himself at that point, but just not enough for it to actually be too bad. Literally pushing him a lot further than what he should be able to, which augmented his strength a lot. Then for his strength. Basically, I think his strength was under the strength of Deku without using One for All when he finished his training. He is about what Deku is um, when he uses 8% now for his strength, like physical strength, he has that. Well, not when Deku uses One for All, but when Deku is able to use it, he has that amount of strength. So All Might decides to accept, give him the quirk, tells him that we'll give him a strand of hair, tells him to eat it, and then tells him that, okay, yeah, it might take a while. Like, your body needs to digest it, and once it's going to be able to, when you're going to be able to use it, don't go all out. You're probably going to destroy your body. Which basically Shoto asked what he meant, and Deku just said, imagine. Well, no, Deku basically, when he learned about One for All, he basically multiple times asked All Might like some questions, like let's say, did the previous user have trouble with them? Well, with the power, blah blah blah. And he basically told Deku at one point that for anyone else, basically the power was strong enough to break their arms if they weren't able to control it and stuff like that. And that some of them use percentage and kind of place that around their entire body to use it. And so he's been thinking, well, when he decided to start training Shuru, he started thinking of how to actually do it like that, for him, how to explain it for his quirk. And so he found a way, and now that Shuru has the quirk, Deku told him that he's been thinking about how he could control it, and to just imagine his flame but in his entire body. Then to control the flame of it. Like, you have the max that you can, which is 100%. Imagine that but imagine that your body is, let's say, an ice cube for his other side. If you go too hot, the ice will melt a lot faster. So you have to control it because of the temperature of it. The lower it is, the less the ice melts. So the lower you put the percentage, the less you're going to break your body until you're strong enough to control it. Basically, for the explanation of the ice cube, it was like the temperature of the ice cube basically fights against that heat of the flame. So the colder the ice cube is, the more you can handle of the flame. So let's say your body is the ice cube and that it's not that strong, while the flame can be at its max, or that you can lower it to make sure that it doesn't melt the ice cube. Basically presenting it like that. So not the acting that All Might did, and basically makes Shoto thinks, okay, all around my body, and control the temperature. So they went back to class afterward. They just said that All Might wanted to talk to them, that's all. And the next day, well, no, that night, since basically Shoto stays kind of at Midoriya's house, since all of that time, basically going back to his father's house once in a while, not showing how much he trained. And then going back at the Midoriya's house, Inko doesn't mind for now. She just thinks, oh, basically, Shoto told it outright that he has some trouble with his dad. So Inko decided that, okay, yeah, he can stay. Since, yeah, let's say she's able probably to make enough food. And anyway, probably that's Shoto since his dad is kind of rich since he's the second hero. Well, the second ranked hero. So he's probably bringing money to me to help it so that she can pay and stuff like that for food and stuff. Since there is one more person there. So basically, that night, they tell Inko that they're going to go walking. They go back to the beach, well, to a beach. Because I think I never said they were going to any beach. If I didn't say they're going to beach, they went to a certain beach somewhere, not the beach, because it would still be full of trash. Just to test out the strength that Shoto has. And just like they were thinking, well, basically how Izuku explained it, Bakugo starts placing the entire force of it in his body and it hurts. And Deku just tell him, reduce the strength. Yeah, Deku tells him to just reduce the strength. Which Shoto does over time and basically thinks of it as a percentage. 100%, 95%, 90%, 85%. Dropping it all the way up until he's comfortable with it. And at about 7% to 8%, he's okay with it. He's not hurt by it. Then Deku tells him to throw a punch, which does a massive gust of wind. Not as much as 100% does, but still a good amount. Which both of them think, okay, that's how he's using it. Well, that's Neku and Shoto thinks that's how it works, that's how I'm controlling it, that's blah blah blah. So afterward, basically after the week of training, Shoto got the 8% completely down and he can use it extremely easily. And basically just like what Deku does now, which he basically has around 1%, 2% around his body at all time, so that he just needs to augment it instead of putting it around his body and then placing it at percentage he can control. It's always on. Basically because Izuku told him to do that. They also saw during the training that his flames and ice were massively stronger. So basically everyone in class knows that they're training also, so it's not that impressive. Well, it is impressive, but they don't really think about it. And Todoroki decided to act as if he basically just unlocked that while training with Deku, and that this is actually what they decided to show to All Might. Basically lying a bit, but just saying that, yeah, after a bit of training, they basically, well, he was able to do that. Which they just thought, okay, what type of training did you do with Deku? Even he can do gust of winds. Which Deku basically decides to try to do one just to see how it would work. Throws a punch and it does make a blast of wind, but more dispersed instead of how a user of One for All can do it. He basically makes a gust of wind because of the strength there is behind it. So they're just thinking, oh shit, the trading does work. Which a lot of people decide to ask if they could train with him. Which he kind of refused just because, yeah, no, I'm training him. He's been actually living at my house for all that time. And we've been training like that. Which only Bakugo knows because, well, Bakugo kind of talks with him a lot. So sometimes he goes at his house. Well, he sometime went at his house, saw Bakugo. Well, Bakugo saw that Shoto was there, and he learned the story. So, the day of the sports festival, Izuku and Shoto Shoto decided to do the same thing that in the anime, basically freezing the ground, but with a lot more power behind it. He kind of freezes a little bit more than that. Basically freezing people a bit more and with an ice that is a lot stronger, so when he starts running and Izuku's next to him running, Bakugo saw that, knew that Shoto would probably try something like that, and he was just ready to go all in at once, so he was basically already flying using his quirk. So, the moment the door opened, Shoto freezes the ground, and Bakugo was already in the air boosting himself, as well as Deku running in front of everyone. Shoto placed around 5% around his body to augment his strength, and everyone else was truly stuck there. Those three were basically in front of everyone from a large margin, and then the robots arrived. Shoto, just because he knew his father was watching, told Izuku and Bakugo that he was not going to use his flames. Unless, well, no, literally would not use his flames. Just to not make his father happy. Which, basically, all of the class know that heat won't beat Deku, fire won't do anything to him. Bakugo's explosion are literally ineffective because of that. So when the giant robots arrived, Izuku basically turned part of his body into lava, launched it to went literally through the robots, melting it. Bakugo basically exploded the head at the same time of that same robot, while Shoto froze the other one completely in about 2 or 3 seconds only. Well, more like 5 seconds, since the time dice went to him and then exploded. Then they continued going. Then Deku looked at both Shoto and Bakugo and told them, yeah, I'm going in front, and basically just blasted at full speed. Arriving at the rope thing, well, rope test, he basically just jumped over it. Bakugo flew over it, and Shoto basically made a nice bridge over it. That, looking back, once Shoto was off of it, Izuku just threw a ball of lava on it, melting it completely, and kept running. So nobody could use it afterward. Everyone would have to pass normally. Which, basically, there's like 4 people that came out of the ice yet. No one else. Everyone else basically trying to get out of it. With the present Mike saying, wow, that ice must be really tough. No one else is able to come out of it. Basically, all three of them hearing it, and Shoto and Deku kind of thinking, oh shit, we've made a mistake. Well, Deku thinking he made a mistake, while Shoto was thinking I've made a mistake. Then they arrived to the bomb place. Basically, Deku looked at it and just thought, yeah, I'm going to leave them a chance because of that. And basically just kind of turned his body into lava and passed over every bomb, making everything explode. Then took back all the lava, so it was filled with holes, but no more explosions, so it was easier to pass. He arrived in first, then Bakugo arrived second, Shoto third. After that, basically they decided space placed the four that were able to come out of the ice as fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, and then everyone else placed equal as at eighth because nobody was able to come out of it. Basically, Kirishima and Tetsu were able to come out of it. Tokoyami was able to come out of it, and Sugar Rush was able to come out of it. But literally, they're the only. No, not Sugar Rush. Mina, since she kind of places her acid on it. But everyone else was basically stuck there, since Sugar Rush doesn't actually have his sugar right now. So his quirk is kind of useless when he doesn't have that. So yeah, everyone else was basically stuck there. Ida tried to use his engines to kind of make his legs move. It just hurted a lot. Momo tried to create something to break out of the ice, but it was kind of not working, since they had literally their feet and a part of their uniform kind of, pants, well, the entire shoes and a part of their pants literally. I was looking for the word. Don't know why it wasn't coming to me. But yeah, basically a part of their pants was also stuck in ice. There was like 2 or 3 inches of ice literally. So nobody was able to come out of it. So they placed everyone else in 8th place, then asked Shoto and Izuku to go melt it, since, they kind of can't move. So they went and melted all. Everyone was in 8th place after them. And yeah, so for the cavalry, let's just say they decided to do the same teams. Just because they decided to place separately the 3 biggest players. And then there's Shinzo. So basically the same teams won. Deku was one of the legs. And basically just kind of asked Ochako to make them all weightless. And he just kind of was jumping up as high as he could, falling back down, turning his lower half in lava, forming it back, jumping up again. Kind of just doing that to make sure that nobody could get their points. Shoto tried once again to get as much point as possible, as well as Bakugo, but none of those 3 were kind of going after themselves, just because they wanted to fight in the final. So at the end, Izuku's team was first, Shoto's team was third, Bakugo's team was second, and Shinzo's team was fourth. I think there were more teams, but yeah, no. It doesn't really matter. There's two other people that get put there instead, since all three of Shinzo's slaves, basically at that point, went out, and so um, other players were placed instead. Well, other people were placed instead. So Midoriya was told about what Ojiro had to say when Shinso tried to make Deku talk. Izuku basically looked at the ground, made lava, kind of broke in half the entire arena, and kind of just made it lift it up, making Shinso fall down. He placed it back in place and kind of just took out a part of the lava, leaving a big part there, and while going out, basically told um, Shoto to just fix it, which he basically did by freezing that, which made the lava turn into rock. Well, rock and a bit of obsidian, but doesn't really matter. Just basically, there's a black line in the arena right now. Every other battle went kind of the same, since the only two other people that are stronger are Bakugo and Shoto. Which every fight, Shoto basically just frees his opponent. Bakugo just kind of blow them out. Against Ochako, he basically did the same thing as in the anime, just with getting a lot less hurt, since he's a lot stronger. When it arrives to Bakugo against Tokoyami, Tokoyami gets beaten. When it arrives to Deku versus Shoto, Shoto basically arrives in the arena. Deku is on the other side. While Deku was walking, Endeavor told him to try and make Shoto use his fire side, which Deku just said he's going to use it, but not for your sake. That's because we're friends, old fart, and basically just kept walking, angering Endeavor a lot. But then he just remembered he's going to use it, but only because we're friends. And he just became kind of happy just because, okay, yeah, he's using my quirk at least. So when they arrived in the arena and were ready to fight, Endeavor told Shoto to use his fire side. Shoto basically just looked at Deku and said, "Are you ready?" He just looked at him with a smirk, and the moment Midnight said go, the same attack Shoto used to end the fight with Midoriya in the anime, he basically used it automatically against him that time. So fire and ice at once, sending a massive blast, while all Deku did was basically make a wall of lava behind him. Well, no, in front of him, to just kind of block it all. Block the ice mostly, which did froze the lava. So, after that happened, Endeavor was happy, and then Izuku was in front of him. Shoto went 8% and literally just kind of froze his entire hand and punched straight in Deku, which did kind of scatter his body a bit around the arena, which everyone was kind of scared at first, until Deku just kind of formed back inside of the arena. So since literally all of his part that were being sent all around, he basically just left them there, and everything that was on the arena he kind of just stuck back together and formed his entire body. Shoto's arm is a bit burned, but not that bad. And then Deku said, "That was a good job. Well, better luck next time." And basically did the same thing that he did to Shinso. But it didn't work, because Shoto placed ice behind him. Then he jumped, started running up, basically making stair out of ice. Was over, well, basically arrived to that place and tried freezing Deku completely, which didn't work. And that's the moment that Izuku sent a blast of air by simply punching with his massive strength, pushing Shoto out of the arena finally. Endeavor was happy that his son used his fire side, but was mad that this kid was able to beat him. Tried to insult Deku, which Shoto basically got up and started laughing. Deku got to him, shook his hand and said, "That was a good fight." Inko, which this time I'm pretty sure would have been, would have come in to see them. Basically something like Izuku or Shoto asking if they could bring her for free or something, because I'm pretty sure people had to pay for it, unless they were pro heroes. So she was basically right at the side of the arena, looking from right in front of everyone. Surrounded by like heroes or other stuff or other people like that. Basically, when they finished the fight, she was happy for both of them, which both of them were kind of laughing at this because he's been living there for a while now, over a month if I remember correctly. So she kind of started to be attached to him, not thinking as him as a son, but as a good friend, which Endeavor sees for the first time what she actually looks like, and just thinks so that's where he's been spending his time, with someone like him and like her, and just kind of think if at least he's getting stronger, he's not been slacking on his training, and just kind of went with it. He was still extremely mad, but kind of just calmed down a bit. Then the fight that Shoto and Tokayami did, basically he wasn't afraid of using his fire anymore. He was using it because it was his quirk, and basically it just kind of showed Dark Shadow the door, literally. Like, fire, you're out, and bam. The fight from Deku and Bakugo didn't actually happen. Because when they called for him, he basically went to midnight, grabbed the mic, and just said, "We fought a lot. He never used his full strength, and my quirk is ineffective against him. He's the winner." And basically just left. He has pride in this one, but he hates Deku, but still knows that, yeah, he's stronger than me. So he's ready to say that out loud. Like, he's not afraid of saying that. To anyone else who would be stronger than him, he wouldn't say it. But for Deku, like, even if he entered the ring, nothing can harm him coming from Bakugo. The only person in UA that can harm Deku is literally Shoto himself, and he got beaten. So what do you want to do? So Shoto and Bakugo basically fought after that, And to be honest, I would see the battle going in Shoto's favor this time, since he's basically all around stronger. He uses his flame, his ice is freaking hard to break, as well as being a lot colder, and he has 8% of one for all. Bakugo is done, literally. He's out of commission. So, yeah, Deku first place, Shoto second, and Bakugo third. So, yeah, I'm going to end it here. I'm probably going to start doing this one again. Basically, I had stopped doing it because for like a while, like 2 weeks ago, I checked it. It was like 16 views only. I checked it like 2 days ago and it was now at 44, 45, I think. It went a lot higher, a lot fast, well, a bit extremely fast. So I decided to do it again. So yeah, hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. Natsu, out.